The reason why I actually like raising here as opposed to calling is because if you call, sometimes he's just going to check to you on the river anyways. So it hasn't really accomplished anything. Whereas if you bump it up to say like 220 to 230.
Hand off. Under the gun +1, limps in for $10. And just a brief background on him. He's on the tail end of the 24-hour session. When he said that 510 just started a couple, like an hour or two ago. And he's been limping about half hands, raising the other half, and VPIP of around 40 to 50, if I had to guess.
Okay, so high VPIP, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, relatively, yeah. He's 1,700 effective, I cover. Okay, so anyway, so under the gun +1, limps for 10, folds to me in the hijack with ace of hearts, queen of diamonds, and I raised $50.
Ace of hearts, queen of diamonds? Ace of hearts, queen of diamonds to 50? Okay.
Yep, kind of the standard sizing at that point. Anyway, folds back to him, and he calls, so now we're heads up to a flop.
So the pot's a little bit over 100?
115 exactly.
So one limper, you raise this guy +1, wide VPIP, you make it 50. I assume that the standard open is like 35 to 40 with no limper, something like that.
It was actually 30 to 40. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So 115.
Yep. All right. Flop is queen of spades, 8 of diamonds, 3 of clubs. So rainbow board. He checks to me. Now, I see bet $35. This, and my personal strategy is on very dry boards like this one, I just always down bet. I don't know if you're a fan of just betting bigger, even at 510, because obviously this player is a fish, so we can just size up and not care about balance. I don't know what your thoughts on that are.
Well, I mean, here's one of the things about the whole small sizing thing. I mean, yes, in theory, I tend to agree, but I think a lot of times people will shortcut a lot of these solutions and they don't realize that they're playing in, or they're putting in like 100 big blinds as like the sort of the starting point, where you guys are starting, 170 big blinds, but it's not, I mean, it is 170 on paper, but with live play, it's always shorter because of the large sizing, multi-way, things like that. So, on this board, I just think also though, too, it's not like also, I mean, you don't run a lot of these sims against limpers because the thing doesn't even really account for limper. So the difference, of course, is that when you would run this into a sim, like in a single raise pot scenario, 95% of the time, it's going to be somebody in the field raising and the big blind defending, right? And if somebody raises in the field small, the big blind's going to have like 60, 70% of hands. Now, I know you said this guy was a wide V-pipper, but he's not that wide because he limp called. So maybe he's got queen 8 suited or something like that, but I don't think he's going to have queen 3 suited or 8-3 suited or queen 3 off like he might, or queen 8 off defending in the big blind. So he sort of has a smaller composition of hands. So I actually think it allows you to bet larger as opposed to sometimes taking that smaller sizing when the big blind has like a very, very sort of wide completing range. I mean, that's how I would look at it. I mean, it sounds to me like you're saying, like, the guy's going to call with any gut shot. He's going to call with any pair. He might even call with, like, pocket fours here. I don't know if there's any real difference between betting, say, like, 35 into 115 and betting, like, 60, which isn't usually a sizing that's really reflected all that much in solver stuff. But, okay, you bet 35.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. He calls. Turn is a 6 of diamonds, so it brings a backdoor flush draw. And he decides to lead for $95.
Oh, that's interesting. So the pot's 185, and you said the turn is the 6 of diamonds?
Mm-hmm.
So you have ace of hearts, queen of diamonds, right?
Yeah. So we can't have queen X of diamonds.
He can't have queen X of diamonds because you have the queen of diamonds. I mean, that would be one of the typical types. What, when I look at a scenario like this, somebody check call leads, it's when a backdoor comes in specifically too. Yeah, it's a lot of like pair plus flush draw. I've got top pair plus flush draw. It could be like a hand like 9-10 or jack-10 of diamonds, which is, a combo draw type of thing. To be honest with you, I mean, unless he specifically has like 8-6 here suited and he's leading, I just think that you have the best hand here all the time. And I have absolutely no problem raising here, and people are like, well, what if he 3-bets you? The response for a 3-bet, you're going to get 3-bet here on the turn so infrequently. And the issue with why I like actually raising here more
Mhm.
than calling. You said he led for 70?
95,
Oh,
95,
95,
just
excuse
about
me.
half.
Yeah, okay. So he leads for 95. The reason why I actually like raising here as opposed to calling is because if you call, sometimes he's just going to check to you on the river anyways. So it hasn't really accomplished anything. Whereas if you bump it up to say like 220 to 230, he calls and he checks to you, and now the pot is actually, larger, right? Than than you just basically calling. I mean, it's somewhat standard to see this as a call because it's so unorthodox, but looking
Yeah,
back in my career, 510 at Commerce, in this particular spot, I would raise more often than call, especially against kind of a donkish type of guy.
yeah, it's interesting because I asked two friends about this hand. They both said they would call on the turn.
Mm-hmm.
And my plan was just to call and just snap off every river or value bet myself if he checks to me.
I mean, I think the reason why maybe your friends said this too is that the gut reaction to calling here as opposed to raising is, oh, you want to keep his bluffs in. And
Right,
my
exactly.
and my sort of response to that is that after you see bet flop and call turn, what hand is he
Mhm.
going to be bluffing with at the end? Like, it's not really like you have many unpaired hands here when you see bet flop and call turn. So I just the value in getting more money in the pot with the best hand, especially with a propensity for this guy to reflex check on the river if called, I think
Mhm.
far makes up for, let him keep his bluffs in. You know what I'm saying? You know what I
And
mean?
that makes sense. And I assume, I mean, you touched on this, but if I raise and he three bets, just a snap fold, don't like
I
whatever.
mean,
Let it,
it would really depend on the sizing, and it would
yeah,
just be very bizarre. I would be
no,
it would be very, because is he going to three bet the turn with 8-6? Do you know what I
I
mean?
really
Like, it's just, I mean, even guys with like
maybe,
bottom
oh, yeah,
set, they're going to go sort of just go into a check call shell. I just wouldn't see that response that often.
yeah, fair enough, fair
Yeah.
enough.
So it looks like it's
Okay,
375 to the river, right?
yeah, because I flatted, yeah.
Yeah.
And the river is the ace of diamonds, so completing the backdoor flush trap, but obviously giving me top two.
Uh-huh.
And he leads for 210 into 375, and he's got about 1.3K behind.
Limper leads for 210.
210
Yeah. I
into
mean,
three.
here's the thing. At this point, what I would say is that because of the propensity for that backdoor diamond draw to come in here, and I was just saying, what's the sort of guys, lead out on the turn range, straight draws, flush draws, things like that, and he's betting again. I think that, if the river was just an offsuit ace and you played it this
Yeah.
way, absolutely, I think that you can easily make the case for raising.
Oh yeah. I don't call the hand in. I just raise and just
Yeah, but
whatever. Like,
when the backdoor flush comes in here, it's interesting. You said this distribution is queen of spades, eight of diamonds, three of clubs. Of course, he can't have the queen of diamonds, right? And the
right.
middle card is a diamond, so he can't really have middle card. And now that the ace is a diamond too, he can't have ace
Yeah.
three suited.
Great.
So it's
Exactly.
like 5-3 of diamonds, 4-3 of diamonds, and then I look at like the
Yeah.
9-10, Jack 10, Jack 9 of sort of middling straight cards.
The thing is,
Yeah, it's
I
close.
just don't want to flat. I don't want to flat and just have him show me 8-6 and just be like, God damn it, I lost like $300, $400 of extra value. You know what I mean? And obviously if he has a flush, and if I raise and he jams, I can just fold like whatever. He has a flush, but that's why I was like really.
I think it's pretty close because of the sizing. I mean, if you went over say 250 to 300, it's definitely a flat. But you are getting
Yeah.
thin. Obviously, an offsuit ace is a very, very obvious raise. But I don't have
Yeah.
a problem actually. 210. I don't know. It's pretty close. It's pretty close. Like maybe once in a while, I might click this up
Yeah.
a little bit.
Funny because the two friends I called, one of them said raise, one of them said flat, and I was like, you know what? Let me call it in. Let me see what you have to say about it. So it's interesting. It's a very close hand.
So what'd you do?
I ended up flatting, and
Okay.
he had king of diamonds, offsuit queen,
So he
which I
just.
thought was really weird.
So I mean, obviously he's not going to call the river, right?
Yeah. No. So obviously, I would have won the same regardless.
Right.
But I still want to be thinking like, if he has 8-6 or it's queen 8, do I think he has enough 8-6, queen 8, maybe even queen 6 suited? And it's like it's tough because I can't really sim it because I don't even know what the fuck he's limping with.
Yeah, I
right?
mean
Because
there aren't many combos of those hands too. I mean when you look at it. I mean the other thing too is that, I just said this is why I want to raise the turn for king queen, and now somebody might play devil's
right,
advocate and be like, "Whoa, you just bluffed the river." And I mean obviously this guy's clicking buttons. Like I have no idea if this is a block bet or what. He's got the king of diamonds in his hand. I don't know if the river was a brick. I just tend to think he would check. So I don't know if this was a response to
yeah,
him seeing like three diamonds out there and he just didn't really know what to do. But that's not really a
yeah,
common river bet. I think it would
yeah.
actually be really interesting if you raised turn and he called and the river was the ace of diamonds. You actually might have a check back there as well. Funny enough,
Are
with
you
what we think,
really?
yeah, I mean, with what we think, it's the same reason why you'd flatting the river here, right?
Fair enough. No, no, that
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah, that's funny.
But interesting call. I like that. I like the way that this is a typical live line, right? Check call lead out, and you
Yeah,
got top pair. But I appreciate it. Thank you very much. If you like what you've seen here, please hit the subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this call in hand, hit the like button down below. To check out crushlivepoker.com, click on the link in the description. Use the code YTA300 to get the first 30 days for free.